So what's your story? This is a question a woman I recently met at a conference asked me as we sat down to coffee during a break. Now, I'm not sure I really remember who she was, where she worked, or even why she was at that particular conference, but I do remember that question. What's your story? Now, this is a question not many people ask, and a question I actually found it pretty difficult to answer. And as I sat there and stared at her with a blank expression on my face, a million different questions ran through my head. Questions about what she meant by story. Did she want me to just give her history, the things that happened to me growing up, or what did she actually want from me? And then I started to think about what stories I could tell that might intrigue or fascinate or maybe impress. Now, I seriously cannot remember what I said or the story that I gave her, but I do remember feeling really foolish as I sat there staring at her without very much to say. And it got me thinking, what is my story? And then even more than that, what is a good story? In his book, Telling the Story, The Heart and Soul of Successful Leadership, Jeff Mead says this. He says, successful leadership depends on the stories we tell and the stories we live and how well they speak to the needs of our time. You see, successful leadership, i.e. making a positive difference in the world and helping others to do the same, depends on more than just what we say, the stories we tell. It even depends on more than just what we do and whether what we say lines up with what we do. So whether the stories we live match the stories we say. Making a positive difference in the world relies on how what we say and what we do impacts the world around us. In other words, my story shouldn't just be about me, and your story shouldn't just be about you. The teacher in Proverbs 11 verse 10 says, "When the righteous prosper, the city rejoices." Now this seems a little bit odd at first glance. After all, it says that there is a city, and in this particular city there is one group of people who are prospering. They're enjoying blessing. They have assets and power and opportunities and position and wealth and talent. They're prospering, they're flourishing in every way. And the verse says that this group of people prospers. They have more, and everyone is happy about it. The whole city rejoices. Now that is a little strange. Doesn't it make more sense that people would be responding with jealousy or resentment or maybe even indifference? Isn't it more likely that the people of the bottom in the city would be saying, "Here we go again, the rich just keep getting richer," rather than jumping up and down for joy over the increasing fortunes of the people at the top? The key that makes this verse make sense is that the group that is prospering are the righteous. The Hebrew word there is the tzaddikim, and the tzaddikim are the righteous. They're defined as those who are so in love with God and His kingdom that they use everything they have been given, their assets, their social position, their vocational skills, their power, their gifts, their wealth, not for self-enrichment and not for the purpose of self-aggrandizement, but for the common good. In other words, they have recognized that their story isn't just about them. Now this is a very useful corrective to kind of the navel-gazing tendency of a lot of Christianity. Yes, it is important to think about your faith and your moral life and how you are responding to God and how well you are living what you are preaching, whether the story you tell matches the story that you live. It is vital to have a realistic look at the stories you tell and the stories you live and ensure that they match. But it is also crucial to compare those stories to the needs of the world, to ensure that you are using everything you have the way God would have you use it, that you use your assets, your social position, your vocational skills, your power, your gifts, your wealth, not for yourself, but for the common good. So what is your story? What is the story you tell about your life? What is the story you tell with your life? Do these actually match? And maybe a bigger or deeper question is, what needs are your story addressing in the world?